How's it going, y'all? This is Ryan De La Garza with another Desmos demo here. Today I'm looking at an activity where we're bringing in a sync to the input component to add some additional supports for our students who may need help getting started and may need those extra accommodations. So if we take a look at what we have here, we have a graph with the number of tickets, the total cost, and we're asking students to describe the rate of change for this linear relationship. So say I'm a student who's struggling to get started, I just a little bit stuck. I can hit this button and now we see a couple things have happened. I've added points to my graph, I've added a word bank, and I've also put in a sentence stem right here. Now I can say, okay, I feel like I've got this, and I can get rid of that word bank and sentence stem. My points still stick around just because if I needed that help, I may want to leave that around for them. But also, if I come in here and I start typing, right, as the number of tickets increases by 2, once I say I've got this, I still get that sentence stem that stays behind for me, so I can keep going, right? So let's look at how we made this happen so we can give those supports to our students. So I'm going to jump into the second screen here where I already have some things going. I'm not going to dive into the content here. So this is my content for my note, and I have a support using this conditional. If I have a video that you'll see the card for up on top where we did feedback in a content, and it's the same ideas there, so I'll leave that for you. With the points, I brought in the number T by looking at the press count. That's how I got it to stick around. Time since press, it would have disappeared when the button reset, but using press count, I was able to get it to stay. So bringing a number in to make the graph appear, I'll have a link up at the top if you want to see how we did that number sync with the action button there. So the new piece is coming into our input. So I'm going to come into our input section, and this is where we're going to start out. So I've already started a piece here that I like to do where I have act equals act 2. What that means is as I start using that source for just act, I can copy this slide and duplicate it down, and I only have to change the number in one spot based on what slide I'm in, so it just keeps it a little bit easier. So the sync we're going to be using is the initalText sync. So if I wanted to put anything, I've seen people do stuff with initalText where they've put just notice and then wonder, so students can go in and fill in like I notice this and I wonder this, so it kind of gives them that jump off point. And so this is what we're using to get things rolling. So I want it to only appear for certain places though, but let's start off with the text, right? So I'm going to say in this one, let's pop out and look at what my graph looks like. So here we have a graph, it's number of tickets purchased and the money in my wallet, and we're decreasing here. Okay, so look, if I do the help me get started, I already have my word bank, I have my points that pop up, but I want to add that sentence stem for my students. So let's jump in here. So I want to say as the number of tickets purchased increases by, and then I'll leave it there, right? And I'll let the students take it from that so they can start to look at what those relationships might be. So now if I preview, if you'll notice, my sentence stem is already here, right? But I don't want that up here at the beginning. As Dan Meyer always says, you can always add, but you can never take away, right? So I want to make that something that it's the student's choice if they want to see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a conditional, because this acts, initalText acts just like the content sync does in a note where you can add that stuff in there. So I want to say when act time since press is greater than 0, I want this to be my text. Otherwise, I want it to be blank, right? The double quotations with nothing in between makes it blank. And then now I'm saying that whenever the action button is pressed, remember it starts a counter, so whenever that time since it's pressed, that counter is greater than 0, that's when this text is going to appear. Otherwise, I'm just going to get a blank text, right? So let's test it out and let's see what happens, right? Great, it's blank right here, help me get started, boom, and now I've got my support right there. Okay, so let's refresh what we did on that sync. I wanted to make content for my input, and I did that using the initial text, using the text that I provided. So I gave it the text that I wanted to put in, and I wanted to make it visible when the action button had been pressed. So that's when the act time since pressed is greater than 0. So remember, this sync acts just like the content sync, and conditionals can be used to control when it appears or doesn't appear. But I wanted it to be blank if it had not been pressed. So that's how we made things work to add those supports in for our students. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you have any questions, please let me know, and happy Desmosing.